Good afternoon. This is the first time of the online tutorial, and in the coming online tutorial, I will go through the tutorial question with you all and explain the questions and the answer with you. If in case you have any questions, you may through the email to ask me. Okay, for this unit 2 is about reviewing the financial statement. Basically, there is a review on the ratio analysis, and we will make use of those formula to work out some data to evaluate the performance of the company. Okay, let's start with the questions. The first question is a relative question, and asking you about the cost and benefit of holding liquid security on a firm balance sheet. Now, be careful. First of all, we need to identify what is liquid securities, and there's American terms, and basically they stand for the current assets. And what are the typical example of current assets? And basically you have learned it before. That include cash at bank, cash on hand, account receivable, prepayment, and inventory or stock. And all this is the current assets of a company. Okay, and basically the most liquid assets should be the cash, right? And that's why a company hold cash or holding this kind of liquid securities. It's so simple. It's for the daily operation, and also that is for some of the short-term settlements for the liabilities. And that's why if a company hold liquid assets, that will be less likely that the company will experience financial distress. And what is the meaning of financial distress? That means financial difficulty. That means if they don't have money, so simple, and they cannot settle their short-term liability or whatever. And that's why if they hold sufficient amount of the liquid security cash on hand, there is no problem for them to settle this kind of things. That's why, but we also need to know about liquid assets that will generate little or no profit for a company. Just like cash, you cannot generate any return to the company. That's why you earn a little only. For the long run, a company just keep a little amount of the cash in the company for their daily operation only. But on the other hand, for the fixed assets, although that is illiquid, but you will find that for fixed assets, you can help the company to produce goods and generate revenue for the company in the coming futures. And that's what we need to consider about the trade-off between the advantages of keeping money and in order to avoid the financial distress. But we also need to find a balance or optimum level. Otherwise, that will be not efficiency using the cash in order to generate high amount return to the company. Okay, that's why that is the key thing that you should mention in your answer. Okay, second questions. Why do financial manager and investor find cash flow to be more important than accounting profit? Now, we need to first of all identify the accounting profit. Accounting profit is basically based on the accounting concept to prepare, and those accounting concept is based on one of the important accounting concept, accrual concept. As you all know, the accrual concept is what? It's based on the service have been rendered, and then we will record the revenue, and also the expenses have been used or incurred, then we will also record the expenses. That's why there is accrual concept. It's not based on the cash movement to record, and that's why you will find that sometimes the accounting profit is not really reflecting the actual cash position of the company. And because of that, you will find that for financial manager and investor, they will focus on the cash flow, focus on the money position of the company. That's why they are more concerned with the cash flow rather than the accounting profit, because that is for the present and to the coming future the usage of the money of the company. And that's why the accounting profit is most often is the historical data which is appear on those financial statements. Okay, that's why so simple. It is you need to identify those accounting profit that's a backward looking historical data, and also you need to distinguish the concerning person, their point of view, okay, their point of view, and because uh, they need to know about the cash position of the company rather than they want to know about the accounting profit. And that is important that because they need to pay for the firm obligation in the coming futures. And also that is the money used for the company to operate and growth, and also to give return to their firm owner. Okay, and that's why that is important for the financial manager and investor. They will focus on this kind of things. Okay, the third questions. First question, the third one, and that is about the calculation of the free cash flow. Free cash flow. Okay, that's why according to this one, and you may make use of those formula that is being provided in the lecture notes. Okay, and then first of all, the question have already identified that you need to work out the net operating profit after tax, operating cash flow, investment in operating capitals, and then free cash flow finally. Okay, that's why you need to follow the step one by one to work out all these informations. Okay, the first one that is the net operating profit after tax, and that's why for this one we will work out the after tax profit amount. As the question mentioned, the profit amount earning before interest and tax is 62. Because of that, the tax rate is 30%. Then we will work out the percentage. And for this one, you will find that that should be incorrect. That should not be 0.21, and that should be 0.3. Okay, and you should adjust it. Okay, because 1 minus the tax rate, and finally that will be the final figures, and that will be 0.7 times 62, and that will be let's say that should be 43.4. Okay, 43.4. Okay, then operating cash flow for the 2021, and the operating cash flow, and the operating cash flow is based on the net operating profit after tax added with the depreciation. The question provides you the depreciation expenses is 5 million. That's why you add 5 million, you will get these figures. Okay, then we need to work out the investment in operating capitals, the IOC, and that will be equal to the delta or change of the gross fixed assets and delta net operating working capital. That means the change of the operating capitals. By looking at that, um, uh, the amount of the change of the gross fixed assets, according to the question, it have been increased by 20 million. And then at the same time, the current liability also increased by 12 millions. And because of that, you will minus the using uh, the current the change of the fixed assets minus the net operating working capitals, and then you can work out that should be 8. 8 add up with 32, that will be in total 40 million investment in the operating capitals. Okay, according to the questions, we want to find out the free cash flow. Okay, the free cash flow is using the operating cash flow minus the investment in the operating cash capitals, and that's why we will make use of the previous figures. This one uh, minus the 40. Then we can work out the company have 13.98 million uh, free cash flow. And for this information is important. It means what? It means that the company has cash flow 13.98 million available to pay for its shareholder and debt holder. That means that can help them to pay for those liability and give some return to their owner. Okay, then another questions. That one is quite simple and asks you to classify the following ratio according to the category. There are basically a different approach to classify, but in general they are very similar. Okay, you need to define what is a liquidity ratio, asset management ratio, debt management ratio, probability ratio, market value ratio, all that kind, right? Okay, for the first one, current ratio, that's so simple, liquidity ratio. Liquidity ratio, we also have another two, quick ratio and cash ratio, right? And the second one, inventory turnover. Inventory turnover is basically is the assets management ratio. Still remember that you have learned in financial accounting that also called the efficiency ratio, right? Okay, that is about the manage of the assets, how effect the manager manage the assets of the company. That's why inventory is a kind of the assets of the company that belong to this category. Okay, the third one, return on assets. Return on assets, return. This is a key word. For example, for those ratio related to return, so simple, that will be about probability ratio. Okay, fourth one, average payment period. Now, this one about the payment, also about your resources, about your assets. That's why there is also assets management ratio. Number E, time interest earned. Time interest earned, that means how many time that you have earned the profit that can sufficient to pay the interest. And that's why that is related to the debt management ratio, because if you have more debt, then the number of time will be lower, and because you need to pay a lot of the interest, that's why the ratio will be lower. And that is a kind of the debt management ratio, indicate the debt position of the company. Okay, number F, capital intensity. Capital intensity, and that is also assets management ratio, because that is about the equities, about the capital of the company, how this is being managed. Okay, equity multiplier. Equity multiplier is basically is a debt management ratio, and let you know about how the company is being financed by debt. And as we all know that the company financed by debt will amplify the loss and the profit also, right? Okay, last one. Basic earning power, simple earning probability ratio. Okay, and then now another questions. Another question. Look at the question carefully first. For each of the following action, determine what would happen to the current ratio. Assume nothing else on the balance sheet change, and that the net working capital is positive. Now, that is some of the key thing. Net working capital is positive. Now you need to define what is net working capital. Working capital is what? Simple. According to the information, that should be working capital equal to what? Equal to current assets minus current liability, right? That is working capital. That is the cash can for the usage. Okay, that's why you also mentioned one more thing is positive. positive. That's why it should be positive. And that is important to define it. Otherwise, that will be a different answer. Okay, how to ensure that the working capital is positive? So simple. We make a simple example. For example, the current assets should be 3, right? And then the current liability is 2. So simple. This one minus that one will be equal to positive 1, right? Right. Okay, that will be equal to positive 1. And then make sure that the current assets should be larger than the current liabilities. And also we create a simple example to illustrate the mechanism and what will be the outcome. Is there something change? What will become the current ratio? Okay, also you need to let us know about the current ratio. Current ratio is equal to what? Is equal to current assets over current liabilities, right? Okay, that's why that is the basic formula for the current ratio. Now, look at each of that one by one. Then we can know about what will be the effect. Okay, first one, account receivable are paid in cash. Now, account receivable is a current asset, right? Cash is also a current asset. One increase, one decrease, all in current assets. Any change? Nothing changed, right? One increase, one decrease. That's why current assets doesn't change, current liability doesn't change. That's why the current ratio doesn't change. Okay, second one. Notes payable are paid off with cash. Now this one, the current ratio will be increased. Why? Because you will find that when you pay or settle the liability with cash, current assets decrease, right? And at the same time, the current liability will also decrease because there will be, you have already settled, and that's why the liability will be decreased also, right? Okay, that's why, let's say, you use $1 to pay $1 of the note payable. And what will be the outcome? Okay, using the previous example, and that will be basically originally, and that will be, let's say originally, we have 3 current assets, right? And over 2 current liability. Now, according to that, if we have a change of the current assets, we pay $1, and then also we will reduce $1 of the current liability. And what will be the outcome? And you will find that that will become 2 over 1. Okay, what will happen? By looking at that, you will find that there will be increase, right? And that will be increased from 1.5 to 2. And that's why that is correct, right? Okay. And then the third one, inventory is sold on account. And you will find that the current ratio doesn't change. Why? Because you will find that inventory is an asset, right? And your inventory have been shown away, inventory decrease. And but on the same time, you sell on account, your account receivable will be increased. One decrease, one increase, that will be set off. Nothing changed. Okay, number D, inventory is purchased on account. And for this one, the current ratio will be decreased. Why? Because you have buy more inventory, current assets more, increase, right? On the same time, your liability will be also increased because you haven't paid. That is on account. That's why your current liability will be increased. Okay, that's why for this one is, let's say we make a simple example. That's mean we have an increase, right? We have increased $1 of the inventory, and then at the same time we haven't paid. That's why there. Sorry, that should be 2. At the same time, you will find that we have a $1 current liability increase, right? Okay, what will happen to this one? And that one will be 4 over 3. Okay, and 4 over 3, that will be 1.3. And that will be decreased from 1.5 to 1.3, right? And that's why there will be a decrease. Okay? Okay, number E, accrued wages and tax increase, and the current ratio will be decreased. Okay, and by looking at that, we have increase in liabilities. Increase in liability, and the denominator will be enlarged, right? When the denominator enlarged, so simple, the current ratio will be decreased because the current assets doesn't change, right? And the denominator, the current liability, increase, and that's why the current ratio finally decreased in total. Number F, long-term debt is paid with cash, and for this one will also the current ratio will be decreased. Why? We use cash, current assets, to settle a long-term liability. Because of that, the current assets will be decreased, but the current liability doesn't change. Because be careful, that is a long-term liabilities. Okay, it won't affect the current liabilities. It just affect the long-term liability. You can pay by cash, right? Okay, that's why for this one, the current assets decrease, but the current liability doesn't change, and the overall final result, the current ratio will be decreased. Okay, last one. Cash from a short-term bank loan is received. Current ratio decrease. Why? So simple. And you receive cash. Current assets increase, right? And current assets increase, but at the same time, you will find that your liability also increase. You borrow money from the bank, right? Okay, because of that, that will be similar to this one. Okay, and because you get the money, you borrow money from bank, and then at the same time, your liability will be increased, and that's why finally the current ratio will be decreased also. Okay, that will be a best way to illustrate with the mechanism how it is being affected the current ratio. Now we go to another one, that is the dew point analysis, and basically we will make use of the formula of the ratio to work out the figures. Okay, according to that, look at the question. You are considering investing in Luren Security Service. You have been able to locate the following information on the firm. Total assets are 24 million. Account receivable 3.3 million. Average collection period is 25 days. Net income is 3.5 million. Debt to equity is 1.2 times. And the question asks you to work out the return on equities. Okay, that's why you need to work out two important information in order to work out the return on equities. And how to work out the return on equities? So simple. ROE equal to what? Equal to the net income over the equities. Okay? And that will be the ROE, right? Okay, that's why we need to work out how much equities in total of this company. According to that, the question provides you the information is the debt to equity ratio is 1.2, right? And the debt to equity ratio is 1.2. That's why we will have the formula should be total debt over total equity, right? This one. And because of that, we know about the total assets minus the total debt will be equal to the equities, because as we all know that this is the basic equation. Still remember? Okay, and that's why if we want to know about the capital, we will make use of the assets minus the liability. We will work out the equities, right? Okay, that's why we will make use of this information to substitute those figures into the formula, and in order to work it out. Okay, we know about the total assets amount is 24 million. Okay, then we will substitute all this figure into the formula and simplify it, and finally we can work out the amount of the debt is 13.091 million. Okay, and then as we all know that the total assets minus the debt will be equal to the equities. And because of that, we know about the total assets is 24. Then we will minus the total debt, then the remaining amount will be the equities. And the equity will be 10.909 million. Okay, after we have worked out these figures, and then basically the question have already provided us the net income. Okay, that's why we can work out the figures. Okay, that will be 32.08%. Okay, remember to time 100% so that you can get the figures. Okay, any questions? If you have any question, you may ask me later. Okay, that's all for today's tutorial questions. Basically, all these questions is quite straightforward, but you should familiar with the ratio. But don't worry about, there are so many ratio formula in the exam and the test. I will provide you the formula sheet, and those formula appear on the chapter end will be provided. Okay, that's all for today. See you next week. Bye.